Cool. So, firstly, Ashley, if you can let the guys listening know, what was that big record month for you in 2024? And for context, time of recording, it's January 21st, I think, 2025. And also, how many active online clients have you got at this point?
So my highest month was November 2024, where I hit £23,000. And we've got 68 clients currently inside of the program.
Nice. And do you remember where the business was at? If we take it right back to December 2023, this is testing me now. Where was the business at when we spoke back on that call, that first time we spoke back then?
So I actually only got qualified right at the end of December, but I was a little bit cheeky and we had our call at the beginning, like a triage call just to get to know you call. And I decided, right, I'm nearly qualified. I'm going to run a month-long free challenge. I didn't know what I was doing, so I did a month, not 2 weeks. And I
In
just thought, right,
December.
let's just yeah, in December. And that's when I sold the first people into the program, got qualified, and then made the sales to go, right, okay, we're officially kicked off. But yeah, I'd literally only just started back in
And
December.
where did that kind of mentality to start before you were ready come from? Because there'll be a lot of people listening that wanna, and it fucking grinds my gears when they say they want to get their ducks in a row. And entrepreneurship isn't about that. So where does that all come from for you?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think I am a big believer in momentum, like just hit the ground running. Do you know what I mean? Even and I was level two qualified. So and there is a grey area where it's like, okay, well, you can technically do group coaching. You can kind of it's a bit of a grey area, but I was a bit like, I know this qualification is coming. I want to hit the ground running. I'm not going to wait until, and I was just praying it came in before like everybody shut down for the holidays and it did. But yeah, I think you've got to, I think that's my personality type. I'm quite bullish. Do you know what I mean? I am going to take the bull by the horns. I'm going to drive because I wasn't really coming into this for like a tea party. Do you know what I mean? I was building a business and I wanted to capitalize on that and hit the ground running. And that was why I wanted a coach. I didn't just want to just see what happened. I wanted the recipe. I wanted the roadmap to actually build a business and not just dabble.
Do you think there's a lot of people maybe listening to this or a lot of fitness coaches in the space that are just doing this more of like a side hustle or because it sounds cool?
Yeah, I think so because I think a lot of us get into this, right? Because we like training, we like being fit, and we recognize what it's done for our lives. So we think, right, okay, we can help other people. And quite honestly, initially, if you'd have said to me, I'll help you make 23 grand in your first year of business, I would have been like, that's great, that's amazing, that's a full-time UK average roughly salary. I'd take that. But then it was like, okay, when I made 5K in my first month with you, it was a bit like, okay,
Hmm.
this is a lot bigger than I ever realized it would be. And I was doing it just to get by, just to make some money. We've obviously got other things, but I was like, let's just dabble. And then it slowly matched the income from the other business to go, okay, actually, we've done that in 1 year, what it's taken us 5 years to do elsewhere. We slept on this for far too long, and now we need to drive.
So I remember that, and I think I sent this back to you in the group previously, that in your original form to me, and anyone listening, I'll ask you, where do you want to be 12 months from now? And you said making 5 grand a month.
No,
And
it's three. I think it was three
oh, was it
grand.
free? Okay, well, it was
Yeah,
even
yeah,
less.
it was. Yeah.
Was that out of lack of belief, naivety, not knowing enough about the space to know what was achievable, or what was your mindset behind kind of setting the bar so low?
Yeah, I think that number was this is what I need. Again, that UK average salary, that puts me on, call it 25 grand a year. I'd be happy on that. I'd be comfortable. All the bills get paid and it's just a full-time income. And I think you hear so often how saturated this market is, and you do get it in your head thinking, well, actually, is there space for me here? And obviously the gym where I am, they have a really hard time of holding down PTs. And initially, I thought I was going to be a PT on the gym floor. That was my full intention. I was going to be a PT on the gym floor, just needed to know how to actually get people to work with me and this, that, and the other. And And I thought, okay, there is an opportunity because the gym has no PT and I would be the only one at the moment. So I thought, great, do you know what I mean? 3 grand a month, I'll be happy with that. It pays my bills, and yeah, that's fine. And I'd be okay with that. But I never understood the opportunity that was actually available, which I think probably is more so available by going online because you're not restricted to how many hours you can actually coach people for. So I didn't understand what was available online with such a small social media following.
How many followers did you have back in December last year, roughly?
600.
Okay, and how many do you have now for context?
11,000 something. Yeah, 11,000.
Cool. So I think a lot of the time people think that they can only make money if they have 11,000 followers. And obviously you do now, but you didn't. You had 600 back then. Was that ever a concern for you? And then also, what advice would you give to someone listening who does have a smaller following as to how you got around that mindset and what you did to get going?
Well, I mean, I did start in the gym and I started with my learn to lifting classes. I started by like where you can call up the people on the phone, every single member that joins. I did like the welcome calls. Nobody else was interested in doing them. So I took it upon myself to say, I'm hitting up every single woman who joins this gym. So I didn't have a massive online presence. So I knew that was going to take the time to build. And I just capitalized massively on running tasters, on getting these calls, but any opportunity to try and hit people, and women specifically is who I work with, that's what I took. And even though I didn't have the social media following, I did capitalize on the gym at that point in time, trying to speak to as many members as I could and maximize the time that I was spending on the gym floor to try and do that whilst I built up my social media following. So I kind of had that strategy in play.
So having the kind of courage to just pick up the phone and call those people, is that something did you have previous sales experience, or is that something you've kind of had to work on over the past 12 months?
No, I do have a selling background. I've
What
always
is it?
so I used to sell first thing out of university. I was an accident and healthcare saleswoman, so insurance. So it was literally 100% commission, and it was my job to find random self-employed looking people on the street and to try and sell them insurance. And that was what I did for like 3 years. The company got shut down, couldn't meet FCA regulations, literally lost everything that I'd worked for, and I earned a lot of money doing that. But this is it. And then I had another commission-based role, which was over the phone, where I had to sell advertising in a newspaper article. So yeah, I do have a sales background and I probably do thrive in selling. I enjoy that dopamine hit. I enjoy trying to overcome the challenges. And yeah, this was just a different type of selling, and getting sales from the gym floor fully into online was the piece of the puzzle I just didn't know how to do. And obviously that's what you taught me.
Do you feel like there's a downside to the fact that we get so much of a hit from selling that when you're not selling, does that ever impact your mental health, your emotions?
Massively. Everything. I think when you're really fired up as a person and you do attach so much value to those new sales. So like my monthly recurring revenue is it rarely goes over £3,000, and my average months now are over 15 grand. And the majority of what I do is coming from taking so much new business on the front end and selling obviously 6 month, 12-month programs. So it's that if you're in a dip, yeah, you massively feel it. And I remember for such a long time, in like mentally, every single time it turned the first of the new month, it was like, now I've got to do all of this again because otherwise I'll only earn 3 grand, which again is great. It's still a nice, I can live on 3 grand perfectly fine. But it was a bit like, it's a lot mentally to kind of go through every single month, but it always comes good when you go through it and you don't stop and you just keep fighting. And you never know, you might get 10 sales calls booked in a week. You don't know whether the last two are going to be the ones that go for your 2.5K program, or whether it's the first two, the middle ones. You just have
Yeah.
to keep grinding.
Yeah. Okay. So With the sales side of things, obviously having a bit of the background, but obviously having to learn, like we said, the nuances of selling fitness because it's completely different to, I think I'm good at selling coaching, but I've never sold insurance. So I'd want to learn from someone like you, right? So with the content side of things, how does someone go from 600 followers to 11K in yeah, in the past 12 months? What was the first? Because that initially we started with organic, we didn't add the ads till later. So talk me through the organic part first. What was your approach?
So my approach was almost to study what other people were doing. So I very much went on the viral trend of the really short reels, pushing out. I think I got up to a point where I was doing 2 reels a day every single day, and I went on a 90-day spree where I was like, if I can make this a habit and do it for 90 days straight, and then it carried on for like 6 months, and that was the point where we started to introduce the ads. But yeah, all of mine for that first 6 months at least was completely organic, just putting in the work, putting in the effort. And I enjoy social media. That's one of the things I actually enjoy, editing my workouts and editing and showing kind of what I'm about as a person, and just seeing what was working really well, what were the buzzwords like protein or like perimenopause or whatever the context might be. But yeah, really spending the time to research what was popping off and using the viral music and all of that sort of thing.
With your content, can you attribute sales to that? Or did the majority of the sales start to come later once you had kind of nurtured that audience? Or could you say that you could attribute some people that found you through those initial reels in the beginning?
Yeah, no, we definitely sold through some of those initial reels in the beginning, and that's where we nurtured through things like the free challenges and doing things slightly, do you know what I mean? You're getting them onto your page and then you're nurturing them through a different way. It might have been my podcast, it might have been the free challenges, but there was always the nurture piece buried on top of bringing people to the page. And also, I wasn't charging as much then. Like I was charging like 399 or whatever. So those viral people who are looking for more like a 12-week program when you're starting out is a great thing to do, because it's like you're building your confidence while your prices are the way that they are. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we definitely made sales through that viral content at the time.
What about adding the podcast? Because I get a lot of resistance from people that don't know where to start or they don't have the time or all the classic kind of cases. How did you initially feel about starting the podcast? And is it something you're still doing to this day?
Mm. I think I probably resisted it a little bit actually. I think
I
like
think you did.
I've never
I
done a
picture,
podcast before. Like
yeah.
I'm not big on the technology. And actually, like full disclosure, yesterday I put out a podcast and it's the first time I've done the whole thing from start to finish. I've never actually listed it myself. I'd never like that was all on Thomas, and he was my bottleneck. And I was like, I need to learn how to actually do this so I can
Who's
out
Thomas for context?
my partner, fiance
Okay.
now. Um, but yeah, so it was like that was the first time I've actually done my own. But yeah, I don't understand the technology. I'm not somebody that understands all of the apps and all of like the podcast world. And like when we got the microphone, I was a bit like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just going to go with it and I'm just going to see what happens. And it does work really well. It's a massive nurture piece before we get people on the phone to get them to listen to something. And whenever I say on the sales call, what is it about me that you would like to work with, or what makes you think I'm the woman for the job, then they always refer to the podcast. It's like, I heard everything you said, everything makes sense. So when you've got that really good episode that you can funnel people towards, that is actually encapsulating of most of the women's challenges that I speak to, you know they're already going to be more sold on you before you even get to the pitch.
And moving the content forwards, we then added the ads later, I think into the summer. And
Mhm.
as much as it meant that I think it gave you a chance to have a bit of a hiatus from your organic content because you were traveling, and I feel how I feel about that, but you were still making sales, so I'm happy. If we talk about the ads, like what part have they played in the entire funnel and the building of the business? Like what would you say to someone who is on the fence about running ads and your experience that we've had so far?
They've played a massive role. Like it changed the game for me dramatically from those kind of 5 to 8 grand months to like multiple six-figure months. They've just been the biggest game changer. And like I've got quite into Hormozy over the last like 6 weeks or so as well. And it's kind of that concept of, and I'm probably still far too cautious around what I spend in them. Like even when I remember, I think it was it in November when I had that 23 grand and you were like, I hope you're putting way more into this. And it's still like this, do you know what I mean? That mindset of being like, oh my God, can I really spend 5 grand a month on ads? And what if then nothing works? But it always works. And then obviously there's the massive switch into the non-viral content, the nurturing, the value added content. So it's like the whole strategy completely shifts, and you just have to kind of understand that you're playing a different game at that point. And yeah, if you don't want to run out of leads, and also I think if you want the £2,500 plus women that are going to sign up for a 12-month program, you don't want to be playing that viral game anymore. You want to be finding the women, in my instance, who have got the money, they're ready to go. You can speak to their problems, you can speak to the kind of people that they are, and bring them to your page through your ads, and then nurture them through your content. And then again, you're just likely to close the right kind of people, get the right people on the phone so you're not wasting so much time.
What kind of ads are you running? So for anyone that's like ads, yeah, they sound great, I'm sold. Like, what ads? Like, what's the funnel? Explain it to someone who doesn't know how that works.
Oh, it's a complicated beast. Right. So you've got, you've got your follower ads. So
Yeah.
I've got different kinds. I've got the carousel follower ads, which are obviously like big solutions focused. They're driving people to your page. And the last carousel post is going to be about following me. Then we've got the real follow ads again. They're speaking to the problems of what my women are facing, bringing them to the page. Then we've got the retargeted ads, which are, again, they might be a flat lay one image thing around, for instance, like a January shred or something, bringing leads actually into my inbox. So trying to retarget the ads to my followers so that they reach out to me and then I can get them into the DM script. And then we've got the traffic ads, which is more of the virally bits that are doing the rounds to obviously increase how many people are actually seeing my page. So I think my engagement at this point in time through Instagram, I think is about 750,000 people. But obviously it's super dialed in to
Yeah.
women in my age category interested in fitness. So yeah, we're using like, it's a lot. I'll be honest. Again, I'm not a massive technology person. This is something that I needed my hand holding with, because it was like, I don't, that world of learning ads it's a beast, isn't it? To get your
Yeah.
head around. There's so many strategies and they all feed into a different part of the puzzle. But once you learn it, massive game changer.
But likewise, I think luckily we found ways of running ads that didn't actually require as much kind of tech, and they're pretty simple to set up. A lot of the ones Ashley's referring to, we either boosted through IG or maybe we went onto the ads manager. And again, I know that's new for some people, but it really was an image that was going to a DM or an image going to a kind of visit the profile. And I think the good thing for anyone listening with ads is that if you just want to run an ad like tomorrow, you
Mm,
could just go to your Instagram, boost a post, boost it to your ideal clients. In Ashley's case, women in the UK of a certain age and certain interests, and that's your first experience. And I think a lot of people they don't want to learn it, or they're scared about it, so they never touch it, and then they never get to scale. And you and I both know that there's no coaches at that kind of top level that aren't running ads. So
mm.
success does leave clues. Let's talk about price points. Where are you at currently? Like, where did you start and where are you at now in a short space of time?
So I started, I sold my first ever 12-week program to a friend for 299. So £299 for 12 weeks. I now sell a 12-month coaching program for 2.5 grand, or my downsell is group at 499 for 12 weeks, where they don't really get much of my time, or it's mostly just writing everything and off you go, with a little bit of input. And obviously they're in the community. But yeah, so 299 for 12 weeks. Like now my group sell is almost double that. And my main program is 2.5K for 12 months. So yeah, quite quite a long way. And every single time you up your prices, it's like, will this work? Can I do
Will they
that?
pay
Yeah,
it?
exactly. And then they do. And then you go, oh, I've just been leaving money on the table all this time. And then your confidence grows. And then you realize that actually, like you can charge that for what you do because you change lives.
Yes, and I think you've added someone into the business now, so maybe talk about what it was like to get someone in to help you with the delivery to mean that with the increase in price, there has been an increase in service. And what have you done to prevent you from dropping on your results, retention, and your reputation?
Yeah, so we've got two team members now. So we've got a virtual assistant who manages all the DMs and that side, and then I've also got a head coach inside of the program. And again, that was always a massive limiting belief when you're selling on the phone, and then how to suddenly go, and actually, I'm not going to coach you. My head coach is going to coach you, and that feeling of being like, are they going to leave? Are they not going to like this? And it's been absolutely fine. Like our retention is probably higher than it's ever been because she's got more time to dedicate to the clients than I had. And we've set out very specific Monday morning, everybody gets a motivational voice message. So it's all like a voice note on a Wednesday. You go in, you check their accounts midweek, see who needs some extra support. Fridays, obviously, check-in day, going back to everyone with their feedback. So managing exactly what's required of the coach and making sure that the deliverables are there. And then I do obviously the weekly Zoom with everybody. So everybody still gets that time with me. And I think I now only coach, I think 14 women, and she's got nearly 40. Um, and yeah, and then the rest are obviously on the group program. So it's quite nice. It's nice just me coaching her predominantly and her coaching most of the women. Like it's a great way of doing it to buy back some of that time because my time at the moment is spent bringing women into the program. That's where I think my biggest value add is for the time being and the
And you
content.
mentioned you mentioned having a virtual assistant. How was that? Because obviously a lot of people are very precious about their DMs. I remember in the beginning kind of handing them over, even just like logins, weird being like, here's my password and my business is like on Instagram, here's my business, handing it over to a stranger on the internet. Like, how was that experience for you?
Yeah, I'm a control freak. So it's all been, it's one of those things where you go, "Ooh," and it wasn't without its hiccups. And again, the one thing I will say is you can't just leave somebody to it. You have to coach your team. You've still got to be, you're still responsible for all of the decisions that get made. Or if there are mistakes, you've got to coach your team to rectify them. So you've got to make sure that you're actually teaching them and not just leaving them to their own devices. But that again might take half an hour a week to catch up with them about what's working, what isn't working, to amend or adjust the processes. But half an hour doing that or a million hours sending my own DMs, I know which one I would rather do. But
Yes.
yes, she's absolutely fantastic at it. She does the job, and we've created the script in a way that she can take people through the journey and get the calls booked. And I just come in at the very end, and that's the way that we've done it. And yeah, it's a game changer to buy that time back when you're bringing through over 100 new followers to your page every single day. Do you know what I mean? If you're to do all of those DMs, it starts to suck the life out of your soul, and I think you start to resent what you've created. So you need
Mm.
that support at that point so that your time is spent in the right places.
What's the thinking ahead? Like, do you think is going to be the next hire for you? Can you see it being, would you ever have someone do the sales or would it be another coach? What in the horizon, maybe even in the short term, long term, who do you think is going to be the next addition to the business?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Because like Ross has just hired a sales guy
Yeah.
basically to handle all of his sales, whereas I don't feel like I'm at that point yet. I think I'm doing like 12 sales calls a week. Like it's manageable for my time. I think for me, bringing in another coach, somebody that actually is a little bit older, specializes in perimenopause, because we're bringing a lot of women through to my page, and that's a problem that they're facing. So I think having another coach who's maybe slightly older, I think would be a good fit for some of the women coming into the program. So I think for me, it probably would be another coach. And also the setup means it's very risk free. because of the way that
Yes.
we pay them. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
almost like, yeah, that one seems to work better at the moment. But at some point, I might well get a closer. Um, I take a while to get my head around doing things and dropping that comfort zone a little bit. But yeah, I'm happy with where that's at the moment.
Well, 0 to 68 clients in like less than a year and hitting those big numbers, it doesn't happen by chance. So, last couple of questions would be, what is the big one? Like, what's the ultimate goal? Like, where are you going with this? Like, longer term, like 3 to 5 years from now, what are we looking out for in the business?
I mean, for me, I definitely want to turn over 1 million. That's like, so the goal for this year is 250K turnover, and then it'll be kind of 500,000 and then a mil. Like that's the point with the team where it can be self-sufficient. So it's a lot more of a residual income, maybe potentially working sort of 15 hours a week on the business, where actually I've got a lot more of that time because we might think about having children and yeah, we might think, right, okay, I can't run it in the same way that I'm running it now, but potentially having a bit more time back, but it's still working would definitely be a massive goal.
Love that. And where can everyone go find you? Like, where's the best place to check out your stuff? Because I'm sure people would like to see the content and see a bit more about you.
It would be on Instagram, I'd say, at @AshleyDawn_fitness.
Cool. And the podcast?
The podcast is called Barbells and Bosoms. So it's on Spotify and Apple
That-
Music.
That's that's such a good name. I forgot about that. I don't think you referenced that enough. Well, look, like before we sign off, I'd say massive well done from me. I remember that you almost didn't take, or you tried to get off the call, or maybe didn't.
I almost hung up on you
You almost
because
hung up. Yeah.
it was just more money than I thought it was going to be. And I was a bit like, oh my God, this is like, and it was terrifying. I remember thinking, is this actually even going to work?
Yeah.
Do I want to commit to 12 months of coaching? And Jesus Christ, if I'd have actually hung up, I could guarantee. I mean, I turned over 100 grand in year one. So
Yeah.
do the fucking thing, like FBT. Do you know what I mean?
Well, no, I think my thing for you was look, people talk a good game, and I have calls, and you would have seen people come in and out of the program, or you see some people come in, and again they talk a good game, and they just don't really kind of live up to it. And look, not everyone's going to succeed. We see it in fitness. People join our programs, right? We can give them all the tools, the workouts, the calories, and um, some people just aren't ready for change, and that's life, right? But I think that if there's anything that I've taken away from working with you is just that, yeah, give it all, give it your passion, wear your heart on your sleeve, show up with a fire in your belly, having that tenacity. I think it's really served you well. I definitely think that if you do go on to have kids, as a parent myself with another on the way, I think it'll be good if you can get ahead of that. If that is somewhere you want to, a way you want to go, of like, the way that you work now might have to be, or will definitely have to be different. But you'll find that out, like that you'll just adapt like I did. I was very much like that. I still am to a degree. I work pretty hard, but um, things do change. But yeah, the passion, that's the big one for me. So yeah, massive well done. I will end the podcast there. I will let Ashley go. But for anyone listening that wants to learn a bit more about working with me inside FPC, it might just be to start your business or just to get going, or maybe you're at a sticking point where you're not even thinking about continuing anymore because it just feels like you're constantly on this hamster wheel where nothing's really changing. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Fitness Business Coaching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.